Hey everybody, it's time for a quick content warning before the episode. Obviously, it's important for you to be safe more than to listen to an episode where we dunk on Hetalia. So please be careful, and your safety and mental health is more important than any podcast episode. This episode includes grooming, nazi-ism, both memorabilia and iconography, racism, anti-semitism, Japanese imperialism, sexual roleplay by minors, nationalism, cyber-stalking, World War II, the 2011 Japanese Tsunami, passing mention of genocide, riots, protests, and the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. And this also includes verbal and physical harassment of cosplayers. Everybody please be safe. Enjoy the episode. Bye.
Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Cass.
And my name is Tease.
And this is Author's Note.
Don't listen.
We have a delightful guest with us here today to talk about something deeply and truly cursed, because there's been some rumors floating about.
No, it's confirmed.
It's confirmed?
It's confirmed.
Yeah.
I saw it on my anime list. It's confirmed.
I don't like that. That's even more cursed. Hetalia's coming back.
Yeah. A new season of Hetalia is called Hetalia World Stars. There's a little star in between world and stars, and the synopsis is there are strange people in this world. If it is short, it will disappear for several days, and if it is long, it will disappear for hundreds of years. The name and personality changed and suddenly appeared by someone's unexpected idea. Even though he is the most weird, he is loosely accepted and used by his boss. This is the story of such strange people. What the fuck?
What is that?
Is this like Hetalia Mafia AU?
Oh god,
TikTok
please no.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, TikTok Hetalia?
Did you just say those words?
Hi everybody, my name's Leo.
Hi, Leo.
I'm here to talk about Hetalia. I was gonna say TikTok Mafia AU. Hetalia.
The TikTok Mafia is a wild conglomerate of TikTokers.
Is that a
it's
thing
real.
that exists?
Oh yeah.
This is the thing. So there was Curtis Connor has a video on it, and it's hysterical. There was a guy who did, he was like a theater kid, and he has a scar on his face. And as Curtis Connor points out, he looks like Carface from the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Oh my god.
But he did like a mafia lip sync or whatever, and then like the Crows brothers, who are the bane of my existence, latched onto it. Gil Crows or whatever, and everyone just kind of glommed onto it and made like mafia personas and stuff.
What the
And they like met up for collabs.
Whatever.
Oh
it's
my
not even the
God.
weirdest TikTok AU. They got
It
people
really
out there
isn't.
being Johnny Depp, like whatever.
Oh my god.
But Willy Wonka Johnny Depp specifically. I have and more.
What's
Oh,
the
God.
weirdest TikTok you've ever watched?
Farmer
Leo?
Bakugo.
I love Farmer Bakugo.
The first time I ever watched Farmer Bakugo, I watched it in the bathroom on the toilet in my basement bathroom, so there were no windows, and I was fearing for my life because I felt like I couldn't escape because there were no windows in case he just showed up at my door.
At
I
least
think
you
I'm
could.
just gonna put in some audio from Farmer Bakugo here for people as an experience for
That's
them.
really mean. It's like a jump scare. Everybody, content warning. Farmer Bakugo.
Content warning for Farmer Bakugo.
Sexy. You think I'm sexy? I just got done pulling weeds, boy. I mean, I ain't complaining though.
But like, there's also something that I find so charming about Farmer Bakugo in that
Oh yeah.
somebody had this idea and they committed to it. They
did.
committed to it. They're having fun. Farmer Bakugo doesn't hurt anybody.
No, it
Farmer
hurts
Bakugo
me.
does make me uncomfortable.
Is there more than one Farmer Bakugo TikTok, or is there just the one?
There's two, I think.
I've never seen the second one. Oh, Jesus
I don't
Christ.
like that.
I don't know if I
I think
wanna
there's
watch it.
two.
We'll investigate later, but I guess we should start off this episode with the age-old question. What have you guys been watching this week?
Yeah, Leo, you're our guest. Tell us what you've been watching or checking out this week.
Oh my god, thank you. I don't watch TV ever. But today is Can I tell people the day that we're recording this?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Okay.
that's totally fine.
Today is Thursday, which means that my favorite YouTuber, Dank Pods, who's this delightful Australian man who he just like talks about iPods and also just weird MP3 players and stuff. He updated. He's the best. He just brings me so much joy. He has a snake named Frank. She's great.
I love
Um,
that.
Yeah, so I watched that before this, so I'm in a great mood now. How about you guys?
Oh.
You watched The Mummy as well.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, yeah, that's right. You were there.
Mr.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser.
I forgot. That could have been. God, that feels like it was so long ago, but it wasn't even a week
It was
ago.
literally Friday. It was 6 days ago.
Help me. Oh,
Jesus
I also
Christ.
watched Houseu again. That was great too.
Yes. Oh my
What
now
is
I'm-
Houseu?
Oh.
Oh,
It's a Japanese horror movie from the 70s where
Okay.
a group of 7 girls go to one girl's estranged aunt's house for not a summer vacation, but like a
yeah, like summer
the
vacation.
a
kinda.
golden week vacation or something like that. They were supposed to have a training camp and then it fell through type deal. And it is incredibly campy. The special effects are super goofy. And I actually also watched that this weekend too.
Yeah,
I
Kino
had-
baby.
Kino. I
Yeah, you
had-
posted a poll asking if Houseu was LGBT media, and I
Oh.
voted no because I knew everyone would vote yes, and I wanted to skew your results.
Thanks, King.
You're welcome.
I mean, that opening scene is pretty lesbian. So.
There's a lot in there. There's
Yeah.
honestly,
Mhm.
I think it can be I think it can be read that way.
Cass, what have you been watching?
I watched a lot this week, but the
Yeah.
one thing that I keep coming back to,
Mm-hmm.
my delightful friend Cassie, which, yes, that is a very confusing thing, got me into this show called Alone, where 10 people are put out in extreme wilderness situations, and they're like allowed to choose from 10 items, or they're allowed to pick any 10 items to take with them plus one photo if they would like, and they basically have to survive, and whoever stays out there the longest wins. But contestants can get pulled either because they're losing too much body fat, so if their BMI is too low, they'll automatically get pulled, or if like obviously if they have health conditions that they're trying to like keep secret, they can get closed. But I watched the season where they put them in the Arctic Circle, and this one guy got a moose. He like shot a moose with a bow and arrow.
What?
And, and then he was starving to death because moose meat is so lean. He has like hundreds of pounds of meat, but he's still starving because he's not getting enough fat. And then on top of it, a wolverine keeps stealing his food. He like has it up in like this platform he's built, and at one point he leaves the ladder to it up, and the wolverine climbs the ladder and steals the moose fat. And it's just like he kills one wolverine with a hatchet. It's a really interesting and cool show, and they have a satellite phone, so they're able to tap out at any time. And there was like a woman, I was watching season 6, but there was a woman who was like very sweet and like very positive and very sort of attuned to her natural surroundings and very thankful. And it was a real delight to watch her, because they're also talking about like the kind of snares they're setting, and you know what you can do with an animal when you skin it, and like what is the proper way to skin it. I just find it really fascinating.
That's cool.
It's really enjoyable.
You should
that.
read Golden Kami.
Huh?
You should read Golden Kami.
Tease.
But I genuinely recommend it because even though like it's kind of a goofy treasure map story, they actually do talk about like how the animals are skinned and what traps they use as well, and there's a lot of research that was put into it that I think you would appreciate.
I love survivalist stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fascinating.
So
and I
very-
do think it's funny that the man who was like disrespecting and mocking people for thanking trees, like immediately tripped and broke his leg and had to tap out.
Good,
So,
good.
Karma,
you know.
baby. Fuck
I
what the
love that.
trees get.
There was
Fucked up.
I went back to the first season, and it's really funny. There was a guy who like he kept talking about how he was a cop and like how he was like so brave, and he's like, you know, they're on Vancouver Island, which has the highest density of cougars in North America, and he was like, I'm not scared of wild animals. And then literally night 1 he hears wolves outside of his tent, and he's like, the next morning he's like, goodbye, I'm gone, it's day 3, hello.
Damn, can't handle the MILFs I see.
They have to
damn
sign
it, jeez.
on to be out there for up to a year.
Oh my god.
Do these people get anything if they stay the entire time?
So if you are the last person surviving, you get $500,000.
Oh.
Nobody has died on this show. Nobody has died on this show.
It took me a second to realize you meant just like hanging out there. $500,000. Okay, this is a little off topic, but do you guys do this thing where you hear the prize for like a game show, and you like judge it based on that? You're like, all right, $500,000, like that's solid, like that's a fair compensation. But if it was like, I don't know, like $10,000, which is like a lot of money, that changed my life. Like that make me really happy. But if I had to get that after staying out there for a year, I'd be like, fuck you.
Well, that's like 16 times the amount of money I make in a year. So like
10K?
But you're
no, 500,000.
I was like, jeez.
I mean, but
Tease, I've seen how many Polly Pocket things you buy. It better not be.
they are not Polly Pockets.
Somebody please help me budget. My family is starving. We only have 800 pounds of moose meat.
That's just me with Doro Hey Doro figures.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys about what I watched this week?
Please.
No.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay, never mind.
In front of our guest? How
In front
could
of our
you?
guest. I'm really punchy today. I apologize.
It's
Please
okay.
tell us what you watched this week.
It's okay. I love and accept you. I watched The Queen's Gambit this weekend.
I've
and
heard about this.
I loved it.
It was good.
Yes.
What
It's
is it?
a girl is an orphan.
It's a new Netflix limited series.
Yes.
What does
7
limited
episodes.
series mean?
It's like a short, like it's a mini series. It's
Oh,
only
okay.
7 episodes. There's not going to be a second season. And a woman, I guess a girl at that point, is orphaned, and she happens to come across the janitor of the orphanage playing chess, and she's like, "Bro, teach me how to play." And she is a chess prodigy. So this follows her career from being a 9-year-old chess player up until she's about 21 and goes up against this like crazy group amount of people and like really high-end chess masters and stuff like that. And it's based off of a book. I've never read the book, but my friend read it and she really enjoyed it. And this series also deals with like addiction and coping and coming of age sexuality and all that fun stuff. And I really enjoyed
gay?
it. No.
Damn it, that's what I was wondering, too.
Unfortunately, she is not. I mean, the actress that plays the main character is very hot, so I'm gay, if that counts. And then
Sure.
Yeah. So to look is to be gay in a sense. And
But you are looking respectfully.
There is
Respectfully at
there
the
is
chess, ma'am.
Yeah, there is one scene with a gay happenstance, but it's not a subplot, unfortunately.
Should
And
be
then
the main plot, as always.
Agreed, always. Gay should always be the main plot. But also, I
Yes.
did in fact watch The Mummy with you, and I watched
yeah.
Hausu with another group of friends, and my Criterion Collection DVDs did come in, so for people who do care about Criterion, I got Watership Down, Hausu, Eyes Without a Face, and then Solo or 120 Days of Sodom. So
I'm putting that on your call out post just so we're clear.
trust me. I mean, there are tons of things that you could put.
That's
in my
the whole
call-out
purpose
post.
of this podcast, really, is just to make one very long and accessible call-out post for myself and Tease.
Yeah,
People.
for real.
Well, this is great because I can't wait to also include myself in the call out post and really just nail it down,
Yep.
just nail down all my transgressions and put them
Yep.
out.
So I think it's time we start talking about those transgressions. I can't even fucking say it. Let's just go.
Shut up. Okay. Well,
I should preface this by telling you, I know next to nothing about Hetalia except for what I ingested via osmosis.
God, I wish it was you.
Leo, can I
Yeah.
ask a quick question?
Yes.
What is your favorite character song?
Did you
Because
say
I know
that?
I know you have one because I have one.
Oh, God,
From-
I'm trying to remember. I think so. The one. Oh, God, I want to.
Yeah.
For anyone that's unfamiliar, Hetalia is Gajinka's of countries.
Yep,
Yes.
that's pretty much it. Yeah, so Hetalia's was, you know what? All right. I'll answer the question
us a
first,
little
then
history
I'll
lesson,
give you a
Leo.
little thing about what Hetalia is. The song that's coming to my mind, and the song I remember playing a lot on my iPod Touch back in the day, was
Wow, iPod Touch, swanky.
oh, thank you. We were looking at my very old RP blog last night, and I literally put on there, guys, I got an iPod Touch. I can look at pictures now. So that was novel back in 2010, 2009, whatever.
Oh my god, you just blasted my brain because I had an iPod Classic, and I'm remembering that you could put pictures on there too.
I still have my iPod Classic.
Big deal.
Oh my god.
I still use my iPod Classic.
The iPod Classic is a impeccable device
My
that
old
I wish
man.
You
hadn't
guys should check out
gone
Dank
out.
Pods. I'm telling you should check out Dank Pods.
I will. I do love my old man iPod Classic. It stays in my car, and it usually has to be hooked up to the charger as I use it, but
He's
still
trying.
He tries his best. That's
still
all that matters. So, Leo, what is your favorite character song?
God damn it. Okay. My favorite character song. I don't remember his name in the show. I know it's a little bit different, but it was Southern Italy's song, I think. 'Cause I remember it being very...
Let's boil hot water, or are you talking about Bono Tomato?
Bono Tomato.
Taste.
Oh, Jesus, help me.
おいスペイン今年もトマトがたくさん取れたぞこれなボーノトマトボーノトマトボーノボーノトマト赤揚げて緑下げてトマトマトマト
My personal favorite was Pub and Go, so I feel you on that. It's
Which one was that?
England's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Why did they have songs?
They had character songs.
Anime. God.
A lot of anime characters have like theme character songs sung by the seiyus.
Yeah, I don't know if this is still a thing or not, but it was very much a thing in at least the 2000s.
Like I know K-On had it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh,
it's like
almost any.
Yeah, it makes more sense to me for like an idol anime or
Yeah.
a music anime.
But like all of them did. Yeah. Even Symphony of the Night, which is not an
my
anime,
God.
but it is sorry I brought it up, but but it is a video game. Like they had a drama CD. And they didn't have songs, but they had a drama CD, which is weird for that game.
A lot of times, anime series, especially if you can get a seiyu that can sing, they tend to utilize it. So, like, even if the seiyu isn't like doing character songs, sometimes they'll do like the anime opening and stuff like that. I mean, for instance, like Haruhi Suzumiya, that was pretty frequently. I mean, Haruhi has nothing to do with music, and yet there was a ton of character songs and a ton of music performances throughout the whole entire collaboration of the series and stuff like that. So
Leo, tell us about Hetalia.
yeah.
Keep thinking I'm getting away from it.
Nope.
So
No.
Hetalia
Face
was
your fears, face your shame.
this is healing. This is therapy for me, actually.
Yes.
So Hetalia was originally a web comic. Originated from Japan. The author's name was Hidekaz Himaruya. I'm very sorry for my pronunciation. So it was a webcomic originally, then it became a manga, then it became an anime, as one does. The anime was very short. Like, I want to say maybe 10 or 15 minutes long at most. Probably.
They were
maybe a little
5-minute
shorter.
I think they were even shorter
Yeah.
than that.
They were
yeah.
5-minute, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so
Because-
but I think they get like kind of like clumped together.
I
Yeah.
do know there had originally been plans by Japan to air it on like a children's network, which caused like a huge backlash.
Boy.
Boy, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Because
Well, and the backlash was largely because of how it depicted Korea. So
oh, really? Well, that's
yeah,
That makes sense.
we'll talk
that's
about that a little later.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing which I haven't mentioned yet, which is the actual content, like the story of Hetalia, the original story of Hetalia, and I don't know if this is still the main story. I have not touched Hetalia in years at this point, but it focused on the Axis, the Axis and the Allies during World War II, and their Gajinka human sonas.
Which is, but like, and not even in a way that is like necessarily historical, but
No,
is
no.
mocking and like playful and cheery about all of it.
It's a
which,
caricature, and it's boiled down to stereotypes.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that was the appeal. Like when at least for me personally, when I was into Italia, it was very much the idea of like, oh, this is fun. Like the fun idea of like, haha, I recognize that like that trope or the stereotype associated with this place or
That
these people.
Americans love hamburgers.
Oh, America, man. I love
The depth
the
of
depiction of
comedy.
America then is still pretty funny, I have to say now. Like just because it was this loudmouth like idiot, which,
Not false.
Don't forget the sad stuff that was involved with like all the war flashbacks.
Oh, we'll get into that. Don't worry. And the other thing, and another thing to remember was around the same time, this wasn't the only like Gajinka like country sona thing that was happening at the time. There was one on DeviantArt by Human. Yeah, that was another very popular one, which I think I was into before Hetalia even. Like it was just like a thing at that time. I don't know why.
I remember
I had a mutual who was like working on a webcomic which was Gajinkas of the original 13 colonies because it had been inspired by Hetalia.
Oh, inspired by Hetalia. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember in high school being really into like a internet university thing, which was like a Jajinka series of like social media.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, I remember that on Tumblr.
There were like, well, that was even pre-Tumblr. That was like a DeviantArt one, and I remember seeing another one on Tumblr that blew up, and I was like, this isn't the one I read. So
there's like 3 other ones.
Of course, there's a million, and unfortunately, people just love to make Jajinka series. I mean, there was that dating sim with the office supplies that had a lot of discourse revolving.
Is still in development.
Yeah, but they did a lot of fixing it. So
it's from Heavy Thought Studios. It's the office type.
Yes,
and it has the same artist who worked on Dream Daddy with the Game Grumps. But the two properties are not actually associated.
Interesting. There we go.
There was because it was the same artist. A lot of people assumed that the Game Grumps were also producing that one, and they were not.
Interesting. There we go. So, Leo, what is your relationship to Hetalia, and why are you on this podcast?
Well, my relationship...
Nepotism.
Yeah, pretty much. Hi, guys. Leo's one of my really good friends.
I'm on this podcast because I'm Teese's friend, and I have been begging them for months to let me on. And the only way I've been able to do it is by revealing my worst, deepest, darkest secret, which is that I was a fan of Hetalia during middle school and early high school, and B, I used to roleplay Hetalia, my Hetalia OC on Facebook. Wow, really quiet.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions.
Oh.
I have one question. Who is your OC? Like, for what country?
It was for Ireland. Her name was Erin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Leo won't let us look at the profile. Did you delete it? It's gone.
I actually, so I did my due diligence. I even reactivated my Facebook account for this. I tried to look for it to see if I could find that or any other Facebook roleplay profiles that I roleplayed with, like even like friends and stuff. But I couldn't find any of them. I think most of them have gotten deleted at this point because they violate Facebook's rule of like you can't be like a fake person or something. I don't know.
Damn.
She's real to me.
Mr. Mark, I think we need to have a discussion about that one.
Mr. Mark.
Because it's not working.
Oh my god.
I don't use Facebook anymore.
I still have mine, but like I never use
I have one, but I haven't touched it, and so I deleted the app. I don't go on the website.
Wasn't I one time on your suggested, and you just sent me a screenshot
Yeah.
of my name, but you didn't add me.
So that's the reason why I deleted the account. That right there is because I realized at some point, if I kept that shit around, friends were gonna start being recommended the Hetalia role players that I associated with. So I had to delete that shit.
Oh my god.
Oh, and it's interesting because I think roleplay is in such a nebulous space where it doesn't have a great community to lock itself into right now. You know, like
No.
Tumblr did offer itself as a pretty good platform because you could do very long form posts, but I imagine now if you want to join like an RP community, you have to go through some processes to join like a Discord server.
Yeah,
I
people have to like audition for a Discord roleplay server, and that's
Well, I mean, to be fair, that's not uncommon in RP communities to have to audition.
that makes sense. I mean, I've
That
never
was-
roleplayed, so I'm the odd
Which
man out.
surprises me.
I know
still
it
to this
surprises
day.
everybody that I'd never roleplayed. I was just too engrossed in getting avatars on neotopet.com and telling people about how my parents were yelling at each other instead of
Hey.
role playing.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it's the truth.
Speaking of sad things, what was the sad stuck bit that we were talking
Oh.
about with Hetalia?
A lot of
Okay.
Hetalia has like flashbacks to
Well,
the wars.
'cause here's the
that
thing.
these countries
Ends up-
went up against.
Yeah, because here's the thing. It ends up when you base your little webcomic off of, countries, real world politics eventually comes up one way or the other, especially if you're going to set it in World War fucking II. So, sorry, Tease. I interrupted you.
It's okay. I also like that it insinuates that these humanization of characters also fought in the wars themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
So, like, the scenes that they show to, like, for instance, they show, I guess World War One they show, and they don't show the Civil War or anything like that, but they'll show, like, Canada and America fighting with each other sometimes, which was kind of ridiculous, or, like, Great Britain and America, and it's always them, like, in different uniforms looking sad, so I guess the Revolutionary War was shown. But,
That was the big sad suck thing, and it would be like UK, right? Like the whole thing that I would always see would be like the UK finds like America and Canada as like little kids, and there's a very particular way that like
Stop.
young
Oh my
countries were
God.
always drawn in Hetalia, and it'd be like like, oh, he like loved them and raised them, and then they fought, and like it'd be always like these wait, let me see if I can find one. 'Cause-
That's not how that happened. Okay.
No.
oh, here we go.
There's also something popular called P2 Hetalia, or was it 2P? It was P2. And it was like basically like yandere versions of Hetalia characters.
Edgy.
Yeah, so like instead of having blonde hair and a brown jacket, they'd have like black hair and a black leather jacket, and their bat would be bloody as opposed to not. Like, if people
Yeah.
Oh,
ate it
so now we're
up.
sexualizing the war crimes.
Yes.
Oh, baby.
Yes.
We're gonna get there.
Oh, Jesus.
I have a post, if you don't mind me to read to you all.
Yes.
I found a post that I think really encapsulates the problem with Hetalia in general.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a post, and there's nothing bad. There's nothing bad in this post.
You're allowed to swear on
Okay.
this podcast.
I know. I think I already have. Good, because otherwise I'd be fucked. No, it doesn't have any swears. But... Sorry, Cass. So I'm gonna read it right now, and I think you're gonna understand in a second what I mean when I say that. This encapsulates the inherent problem with Hetalia. So it's a post from Tumblr titled, "Attention Hetalia cosplayers. If you are going to a con anytime soon, do not, absolutely not, be mean in any way towards Russia cosplayers because of the current events taking place in Ukraine. Some people might feel really bad because they are getting blamed for the current events because they are cosplaying a character they really love." And this is meant a PSA. Yeah.
My experience with Hetalia cosplayers was people walking around in straight up Nazi uniforms at
Yeah.
conventions
Yep.
and doing Nazi salutes and then excusing it saying, "Oh, I'm cosplaying Germany," which is a multi-layered problem.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah.
I will say this, like, yeah, it sucks. There's like no getting it. Like that's the thing, is that there is no getting
Yeah.
around it. Like, and
You can't have a property that's built around the historical actions and personifications of these countries and simultaneously deny the awful, horrific actions committed and perpetrated by so many of them.
Similar to a certain little series by a man named Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Okay.
All connected, baby.
I mean,
That reminds me of another post I'm going to send you all that reminded me of.
I was going to say there was a
Nico Binder.
Tumblr post that said Hamilton is just Hetalia for theater people, and every aspect of its production and fan base reflects this. And I can't help but
I don't think that's an
back.
unfair comparison. I mean, obviously, like the premises are different, but it still boils down to and sits itself upon this romanticization and cutesifying of a very like white violent history.
Yeah, and that's something that in the last like week I've been trying to figure out myself. I'm like, how did I ever like this series? Because like there's lots of things that I can look back on and be like, oh god, this was so cringy, but I can understand why I like it. Like but this is the one thing I keep thinking to myself, like, oh my god, how did I ever think this was okay? And the simple answer is that, well, I was a white like Christian kid. Nothing about this was offensive to me personally, so I didn't have to think about it beyond haha funny countries.
Yeah. Well, and Hetalia is in its own right propaganda.
Oh
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah,
it was-
dead ass.
Yeah.
which is like where a huge portion of criticism has come in, and like there's been a massive wave of criticism and people angered that it's coming back. I don't obviously want to speak for Korean people, but the large majority of criticisms I've seen across my timeline in the past week since this has sort of been announced and talked about is people who were very hurt and frustrated and appalled by how Korea was represented in Hetalia. I think it would be nice if we could maybe have somebody on to speak about that at some point.
Agreed.
Because that's not our
Or
place.
somebody who's Jewish as well, because Lord knows
Yeah.
there's a lot of anti-Semitism within Hetalia, both as the role-playing community, but just like what, once again, the content was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And it's inescapable too. It's not like, you know, the Hamilton comparison I think is a good one for modern audiences, but I think it misses out on the fact where it's like, I can get why somebody would watch Hamilton and like it, and I can understand to an extent like, oh, you know, there's something here that, you know, you can justify or whatever, right? Whereas with Italia, and again, speaking as somebody who was a fan of this, I'm like, oh my god, this is just bad. This is so irredeemably like shitty. Oh my god.
Well, and hurtful too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not... It punches down.
Oh, absolutely.
It punches down in very big, unavoidable ways.
Yep, and that's something that I think too, if I may, to talk about my roleplay experiences a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how does that color the roleplay community?
Well, it did it in a very memorable way.
Oh, Jesus.
Because of the people who it attracted, I think. It attracted a certain, you know, kind of type of people. I will say, like, for me, I didn't interact with people who were, like, who outwardly, because there were people who would roleplay, like, Nazi Germany, Nazi Prussia. And I was like, I had enough sense, at least at the age of 12, to be like, no. So that's good, at least. That's about it. That's all I could say that was, like, good. But besides that, it was like, the people in the Hetalia roleplays that I associated with, looking back, the way that I think about it now is like, if I saw if I saw somebody who was my age then interacting with those people, I'd be like, you need to get out of there, like right now. This is not a safe situation. This is a bad crowd. Not everybody was like that, of course, but like a lot of the most popular people within that role-playing group were a lot older. And most people were 12 to like 14. You know, it's just a bad scene.
Do you find that the Facebook roleplay, because I know you've roleplayed in multiple spaces and multiple places with multiple people and characters and stuff like that, did Facebook stick out in any way other than these other sites, or was it kind of just like the same common thoroughfare? Was there people who also kind of like older people who dictated the groups like that in other sites? Or, I mean, this might be a really obvious answer for other people except me.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay. No. Honestly, it was very. I never really thought about it, but you're right. It was actually very marketably different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, when I would role play on other sites, so Tumblr, I role played on like wet paint websites slash forums, different like social games and stuff like that. It was all mostly, from my understanding, was at least it was people who was my age or it was people who I didn't know were older than me. And I didn't
Okay.
have any reason to suspect. But
That's
with
how Neopets was too.
yeah,
Like even just in talking in guilds, so I get that, yeah.
yeah. So yes, yeah. The problem with Facebook is that the degree of separation between my real life, quote unquote, which my real Facebook profile, my real name, my age, like where I lived and stuff like that, and then like my role play persona, or even just my online persona in general, which I, at that time especially, and even now to an extent, kind of separate. There was like that layer of separation was very thin. I said it before how for years after that, had to worry about people randomly getting recommended Hetalia Facebook profiles that I RP'd with. So there was that, there was a layer of like anonymity and safety that kind of provides that just wasn't present there, and that
I
got me
mean,
into some bad situations.
oh gee, I mean, would people know, like looking at your Hetalia Facebook roleplay account as Erin, would people know it's Leo, quote
I
unquote?
think I
Like,
posted I think that was more of a problem myself too. I think I posted my face, or I think I might have even this is how I probably got into it, was that I probably found the RP profiles from my real Facebook, started interacting from there, and then made a separate one so people would have already known that that was my real profile
okay,
as well. And I would let people friend me on my main profile too.
interesting. There
Don't
we
do that,
go.
kids.
Yeah,
Don't.
no. Well, I think it would be smart at some point if we had a comprehensive episode on basic internet safety and fandom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that is the thing with like Facebook RPs, and I find that like I know that was a problem for some of the people who I was friends with on Facebook, where they would like not talking about RP, but would go to conventions and meet strangers and immediately friend them because they'd spent like 2 hours talking, and they were both wearing cosplay from like the same property, and it was making yourself that accessible. I try to be a more private individual online, so
Yeah.
that kind of thing personally scares me. Yeah.
Yeah, I never really liked giving out my Facebook to people. Like, it was only like a last ditch effort thing. I was like, don't you have like Tumblr? Because like my mom's not on Tumblr, or like Twitter.
I was
My
an
mom's not on
idiot.
Twitter.
I think a lot of us were as children, and we were also growing up in an age where we didn't understand the full breadth and scope of the internet and what it offered, and like how to actually be safe on the internet. Like when we were growing up, our parents were like, don't tell anybody your name, or like these details about. I remember having a lesson in school about how like giving away little tiny bits of information over time could help somebody find you, where it was like we had to read this packet and like outline the information that this child shouldn't have given, where it was like in one conversation they were like, oh, I play soccer, and then like in another conversation they mentioned the name of their team, and at another point they mentioned like a local like movie theater or something, and like somebody using that kind of information to find them. And it's just like, yeah, that is a threat, but now it's like basic internet safety is a lot harder because
Yeah.
of the accessibility of hacking and data mining and all sorts of other scary things.
One time, I mean, this probably isn't relevant, but one time I
go ahead.
actually got a letter sent to me in the mail, and my mom found it in the mail, and it was from somebody who was an inmate at a prison.
Oh.
And my mom was like, did you give out your information to anybody online? And let's be real, it's probably, I mean, I guess I'll just say my full name, because let's be real, it's pretty easily trackable. I mean, my full name is Teresa Navarro, for God's sake. Like,
It's also on the podcast contributor form, so yes,
Duh.
everybody knows it, Tease.
duh,
Nobody knows who
never
I
mind.
am.
I mean, ha ha ha, steal my identity. So my name is obviously Teresa Navarro, which is a very common name. And I mean, I'm in New Jersey, so this poor guy was probably just hoping to God that it was the right Teresa Navarro. And I mean, at the time it was scary because I was a minor. I was like maybe 12, 13. But my mom was like, I didn't tell your father, but did you tell anybody your information online? Did you talk to anybody in prison? I was like, no, Mom. Like, but then like
Yeah.
laying in bed that night, I was like, oh my God, did I tell anybody my address? I'm like, no, of course I didn't. And I mean, like, as time went on, and like I made Tumblr friends and I made friends via Skype and whatever and stuff like that, like I gave out my address, but there always was
Yeah.
still like this active case of anonymity. Like
Yeah.
I
mean,
you know,
Yeah.
it's so weird. And now meanwhile, like 17-year-olds on TikTok are like, hey, here's my house number, come kill me. And I'm
That
like,
that
what?
genuinely makes me so anxious though, because I think
Yeah.
like here's my thing. I love making friends online, and that's how this also like it's been a very good thing and also a very bad thing for me at times. Tease, we met online. We were
Yeah.
friends who were online friends for a while. My fiance, we met on Tumblr RP, uh, 8 years ago, so obviously that worked out pretty good. Side note, my dad said that when we picked my fiance up from the airport for the first time, he always jokes that um, my dad speaking, he would always joke that like, oh yeah, like if we rolled up there and Trevor was like over 40 like with a beard, I would have just kept driving, and I was like, oh, that's dark.
Oh,
But but kids today, they do make me really anxious because I'm like, like anxious in the way of like there are people who are gonna like who try to take advantage of that like familiarity and that openness, and they will use that to hurt you, or they will just take advantage of the fact that you don't want to say, like, you don't want to be rude and block them, or you don't want to be rude and unfollow them or something like that. And I'm like, I just hope that people today, like people today, younger people who are online are able to say no and to be like, goodbye, don't talk to me, more so than I was as a stupid idiot like preteen being like, yeah, like yeah, you're my best friend now, yeah, we're best friends, like, yeah.
and did anybody use Hetalia as a way to like get closer to you that way, or do you think they're just kind of like, oh, we all just role played this together? So now, are you still friends with anybody from Hetalia roleplay still?
No, for deliberate reasons too.
There we go.
Nope.
See?
But people absolutely did. Oh my, well, like I said, some of the people who were very popular in the Hetalia Facebook RPs that I was in were much older. Like, I know that at least two people were like full grown adults. Um, and I remember learning that and being shocked as a kid, being like, that's weird. Like, that's
Why are
like
you
even
talking to
then.
me?
Yeah, even then, as I was again 12, 13, I was like, wait, something about this is off. But I didn't know how I didn't have enough sense to be like, no, I'm gonna leave now. But
And
a
did the
lot of
reverse ever happen? Because like I remember like in my internet circles, like someone would be like, yeah, I'm 18. I'm like, ooh, so mature. And then they were like a year older than me when I was like 14. So I remember people lying a lot about it was easier to lie about your age.
Yeah.
back
well,
in
that was
day,
the
I
thing
feel
with the
like.
Facebook too, though, is that you could actually, because so many of us had our actual like real profiles attached or or like tangentially attached, like you could see, like I knew that that person was an adult because I saw a picture of them and I was like, oh, that's a full grown adult
Oh.
human.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately, and just coming from my own experiences, roleplay communities, not more so than other internet communities, but they do make it easier for opportunities of grooming, because there's a lot wherein people are able to manipulate things through the lens of characters, and there's a lot of like there's a lot of, I think, teenagers who are exploring their sexuality via roleplay and get involved with older RPers without realizing it, and unfortunately older RPers taking advantage of that. And I mean, at the end of the day, you shouldn't be interacting with minors, and minors shouldn't be interacting with adults, and that's for mutual safety, you know, more so for the safety of minors, but like that is a mutual safety concern, you know. It like minors, it's literally illegal for you to be RPing sex with an adult. Like it's not like a ew icky, you're a child, which also yes, but like it's illegal.
I mean, that was something though, and I think that this was just the culture at the time. Like I remember when I was underage, and it was probably around this time. It was it definitely was involved with Hetalia RP too. But like this was more so on Tumblr where people would be like, "Hey, no, not safe for work with no, not safe for work with minors." I forget what the word was. No smut like with minors or something
Yeah.
like that. There was a specific word. And I remember, as a young teen being like, "Oh, what a prude." No, that person was just smart and not being a dick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, and I think too, like, there are some people who get so entrenched and so attached to their characters that it does
Yeah.
unfortunately become difficult for them to kind of distinguish their own feelings versus like what the character is feeling, and like that is another opportunity of like a power imbalance that someone can unfortunately take advantage of. And like that does happen amongst individuals where like there isn't an age discrepancy or there isn't an age issue, you know.
Yeah.
It's just it's a complex community, and like just like any other community there can be issues, but then with Hetalia you have a whole issue of like
Oh, yeah.
there's like race tied into it, there's nationalism tied into it, there's a whole host of issues where it's like these characters themselves are already primed with like really drastic violent power imbalances and history between each other that like you're
Yeah.
potentially asking children to explore.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I think that's at like the crux of it too, is that it's like, again, that's why it's inescapable. That's why it's one of those things where it's like, you really shouldn't be liking Hetalia anymore, especially not in 2020. Really not back then either. But it was just so like you really couldn't navigate it without running headfirst into one of those things.
There's even that weird power imbalance as well with how the characters interact, especially because it is there's the relation to history and the relationship between countries and stuff like that. And since it is set in the realm of World War II, I feel like you're always going to have these countries that are kind of afterthought countries because they're not relevant to this war as opposed to the main characters. And I feel like very frequently when stuff like that happens, especially with Hetalia, there's an easier way to command control over other role players with that. And let's be real, if you're quote unquote like, let's say a really good, like Sealand, like Sealand's just a butt of a joke, and if you're a really good Sealand player, people will just think of you as a novelty. But if you're a really good America, everybody's gonna want to role play with you. And and there's and you can utilize that power in a certain way, and I think even that power that you hold over
The
people,
inter-community drama in RP communities, just because of like exactly what you're saying, Tease, of like player popularity and like perceived skill in writing, and how desired you are as an RP partner. Like I know that was a huge issue on Tumblr of like people like outright trying to drag each other so that people wouldn't RP with them.
I mean, my college roommate was really into the Disney RP scene. I don't know if they listen to this podcast, but I mean, they're pretty open about it. But like, there was maybe one or two other people who roleplayed the same character as them, and people considered them the best one out of the three. And there wasn't like, I mean, they were all nice to each other, but you could clearly tell there was some animosity towards them for being quote unquote the better of the three. And I think especially with, I'm assuming because it was on Facebook and it wasn't like, God forbid, like MySpace or DeviantArt or something like that, there definitely was a little bit more closeness because you have to add each other as friends. Is this correct to assume this? And I can imagine the absolute hell and feelings that were hurt that was caused by, especially like with how Facebook works as like an interaction thing too. Unless you have a public account, you have to physically friend this person. So that means there's already a gateway to enforce that, like, are you good enough to role play with me? Let me see your writing. So interesting.
There's another part to all of this.
Yes.
Which I'm gonna post an image of that in the Discord. I'm sorry, people listening. You don't need to see this though.
No, it's okay. I'll describe it to them.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
So we have a white image that looks like it was probably made in MS Paint. All the text is in Comic Sans, and between two clip art stars at the top, it says, "Which Hetalia character are you?" And it's like a flowchart map that you can follow, and it says, "Start. Are you gay? No. You are not a Hetalia character. Yes, you are Germany."
Oh my god.
I told you I was going to show you curse stuff this
This really,
episode.
oh my,
Jesus.
like this was though in the age of like the yaoi paddle and like
Oh yeah,
that
like
sort of
Oh,
like weird
Jesus.
commodification of yaoi. Please explain this image to us, Leo.
I wish I couldn't. So that was, I think, another thing that was really. So this was, I think, an interesting aspect of Hetalia is that it was yaoi central, like more so than like. Well, I guess there's other fandoms that I've seen that are very much yaoi focused, but it
This
was
is the
very,
time
very
of
much so.
Loveless too. This is like Loveless and Gravitation era, and this is like right when Tumblr started to get bigger too.
yeah.
So the Tumblr community of Hetalia fans was buck wild.
I
And-
never had to interact like when I started on Tumblr, which was around 2011. That was actually when my Hetalia, like my actual like active interest in Hetalia was fading, and so I actually found a post from like I think it was March 2011, being like, "Oh, I don't really reblog Hetalia anymore." But here's a post. Tease, please tell me more about the Tumblr Hetalia fandom. I want to
God.
hear about this.
So I got a Tumblr in May 2010, and I got into anime June 2009. And I remember.
It's been
maybe-
downhill ever since.
Yeah, fuck buddy, it sure has. My life has never known peace. And I mean, I wasn't really like I never was super big into it. Like I wanted to cosplay it, but I never did, thank God. I like never owned merch. I owned the first volume of the manga when it finally, because I remember it was like a really big deal
Yeah.
when the manga finally came out, because not only was it a webcomic, but then we had to wait for it also to be approved to be brought into the States. So there was the combination of bringing a digital thing into print and then bringing this print media into English as well. So I remember a friend actually got me the first volume as a gift when it came out. And that was like really exciting for me. And I think I was a junior in high school at that point. It was like during tennis season. So maybe it was like September
Do you
of
remember?
my junior year. So
I think-
2010. Yeah.
Sorry, do you remember? Because I have a memory, and now I'm like, I should make sure about this before I say anything, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Uh-huh.
I remember there being a bit of a controversy because in the American release of Hetalia, and I think that this was true of the Japanese manga as well, but I don't think that this was true of the original webcomic that they took out, the swastikas.
Did they? I don't remember.
They
Can't
might either
say.
that or they took out the Iron Eagles. It was one of the two things. But I remember people being like, even back then, shitheads being like, censorship, and it's like,
Well, I remember when people used to actually sell like replica Nazi memorabilia at conventions in under the name of the guise of Hetalia. Like
Jesus.
you just can't. Like
You can't
you
escape
just
it.
can't. Like I just don't understand how you as a seller is like, I'm gonna capitalize on Hetalia in the worst way possible.
Because they're not, I mean, white
Yeah.
supremacists aren't stupid.
Yep.
yeah,
Because
true.
they see like it's like, oh, here's a trend that I can capitalize off to disseminate this information, because again it's propaganda.
yeah.
And that's exactly what
right.
it was, because it was like cuz that's like the kind of the big, that's like the elephant in the room of Hetalia, because they never directly address the fact that it is Nazi Germany as far as I can recall, like outside of
They
like,
don't. They
yeah.
don't.
And so that's like the thing that, you know, the fans, of course, they notice that, and they're going to comment on, and they're going to do something with it in fan works, because they know it's a thing there. They know it's not being addressed, and it's a big fucking thing, and people are going to say something about it.
And it
Well, and
makes you a
I remember
synthesizer.
too that like there was a very large trend of drawing Hetalia characters when natural disasters would occur.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
And the insensitivity of that, of like when, I forget which tsunami it was, but when it hit Japan, people were drawing like the Japanese Hetalia character, and it was just like, this isn't appropriate. Like real people are dead. This isn't about your anime character. And it's just an overall insensitivity and lack of understanding and lack of media literacy to look at this and say, you know, I need to put on a critical lens here and see if maybe this is or isn't appropriate to do.
Well, I remember when I think it was 2011, the 2011 tsunami happened, and there was a rumor that the Seiyu for Pikachu died, and people were like more upset about that than anything else. And it was like, no, it's not true. But also, you should be worrying about the thousands of people that died due to the tsunami. And like, there's a difference between like making your funny Hetalia character in your like World Cup jerseys, and because especially at that point, that was like when the 2010 World Cup happened, and then also the Olympics, both for 2010 and 2012, were going on. So that was like really exciting for Hetalia fans. But then like when a tsunami hits, when a genocide happens, when there's riots and protests happening, that's not
when you know there's
draw
issues
your
between
Human suffering
Russia.
is not there
Yeah.
for you to capitalize off of.
Exactly.
You know, there's issues between Russia and the Ukraine, and you have to tell people don't get mad at the Russia cosplayers.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be cosplaying. Maybe you shouldn't be cosplaying this in the first place.
I also remember the flags. It was such a pain in the ass to maneuver around conventions when people were cosplaying Hetalia because they had such big ass flags.
Well, Hetalia cosplayers were part of the reason that flags got banned, signs got banned,
Really?
and
Yeah.
glomping was such an issue.
Oh yeah, the glomping. Oh, can I tell you guys a
Because-
funny story?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The glomping. The glomping.
People got seriously in. If you're unfamiliar, like this is totally like fallen out of internet history. I don't think like babies on the internet know what glomping is. But glomping was like, it was an onomatopoeia that was used in manga and then got brought over, and it was like this sort of like jump hug where you like glom onto someone and like hug them that way. You're basically tackling them.
Yeah.
But people would do this at conventions to cosplayers they didn't know, and people got seriously injured.
Yeah.
And like unfortunately the trend of people being harassed and like physically assaulted because of who they're cosplaying is like something that still exists today and is still a problem. But like that sort of thing was a huge issue at the time. We were like, you just have a random stranger like running full speed at you, screaming a character name, and then they jump on.
Especially with glomping, it like once again, it separated the character from the actual person and forced a dehumanization on cosplayers.
Yeah.
And I think with Hetalia and, for instance, drawing this essential Nazi propaganda and even to some degree role-playing and grooming with these characters, and even associating yourself with the characters like from your country of origin, your nationality, and even your OCs and stuff like that, there's this separation that you are a stereotype and that you are this character, and therefore people can be like, oh well, clearly you're my friend because XYZ. Like I remember being like 16 and being like, ha ha ha, my dad is half Spaniard, half Cuban native, and my mom is Southern Italian. Damn, Spabano real. I'm
Oh my
Spabano.
God.
Like, I mean, at the time, like, I thought it was funny. But,
Laughed.
like, yeah, ha ha ha, laughed. But, like, I mean, now looking back, it was a way for me to diminish both my familial history, but as well as, like, my cultural identity. And I think strangers were afforded that gateway when you saw somebody cosplaying or role-playing that character and you wanted to project yourself onto them in a way.
Oh,
Leo,
absolutely. Yeah.
can you tell us a fun story to bring us out on a lighter note?
Oh, I'd be more than happy to. This is my sometimes for the Facebook Hetalia RP we would move it over to MSN. What would that stand for? Microsoft.
Yes.
What does it stand for? MSN.
I don't know what MSN stands for.
It was a messaging system.
It was a messaging system. It was AIM, but not AIM, back in the day. And so one of the things that you could do on MSN was you could send somebody like a little chat command that would make their text window shake.
Oh.
So so this was more used in a joking sense. This wasn't when people would actually do smut. But when somebody would jokingly be like, "Ooh, fucking," they'd spam the chat command so that the window was shaking the whole time, like, you know, they're shaking the bed or whatever.
That's actually really cute and
That
funny.
is really funny. I love that.
It's the only bright spot, and otherwise a very awful RP.
R.I.P. MSN. I miss you every day of my life.
Oh my
Well-
God, I miss her. I just want her back.
I miss her so much. I was so sad when MSN died, and I was really sad when AIM died too, because it was like still 2015 and I was still using AIM. God
AIM
bless me.
rules.
It did. It was really good.
Leo, thank you so much for joining us this week. If people want to find you, to follow you on Twitter or any other social media, where can they find you at?
Well, if you really want to, it would probably be a mistake, but that's okay. It's one that you can make yourself. My Twitter is it's FLT Woods Monster, so Flat Woods Monster, but without the A on Twitter. Sometimes I post art. Sometimes I post little clay sculptures I make. Most of the time, I just kind of talk like an idiot, so you can go there.
Sometimes
that's
Leo
about it.
posts screenshots of our Discord server, all yelling at each other, and that's pretty fun.
Well, I'm bullied all the time by the people there, including one Teresa
Sounds like
Navarro.
your friends are pretty toxic, and maybe you should get some
You
new
know
ones.
what? It's just been, you know what? I think what this episode has really shown is that I am a horrible judge of character, and I constantly get involved with just the worst people.
Damn. All right. I see how it is.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Cass, and if you want to find more of my work, you can find me on Twitter at Valhethela. That's VALHETHELLA. Tease, if people want to find more of your work, where can they find you at?
You could find me at Vicunyad, which is my Twitter, VICUNAD. Also, if you liked our theme music, that was James Yaiullo. You can find him on Bandcamp under James Y.
And our cover art was made by the wonderful Nyaliest. You can find more of her on Twitter at Nyaliest. That's NYALLIEST. If you're interested in supporting our podcast more directly, you can find us on Ko-fi. We're at Authors Note Pod on there as well. You can also reach out to us with any questions, comments, ideas for episodes, either on Twitter at Authors Note Pod or via email at authorsnotepod@gmail.com. If you enjoyed the episode, maybe share it with a friend or leave us a review on iTunes. That would mean so much to us. And until next time, stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.